Now we're going to compose shapes. Use these semicircles to make a circle. Let's zoom in a bit. So if I had these two semicircles and I wanted to make a circle, I would just kind of stick them together. Yeah? So let's see which one of these pictures does that correctly. This is helping students develop their visual and spatial awareness and knowledge. I don't know if this is a normal thing, but I can tell whether something's going to fit in my trunk, like the trunk of my car, just by looking at it, and I'm right almost all of the time. Like, even if it's really close, even if it's like just barely gonna fit, I can look at it and go, yeah, that's gonna fit. And it's just because I have so much experience visualizing shapes moving in space. We are starting that right here, right now. So how does it look when we take those two and make a circle? Well, it doesn't look like that. Those aren't halves. Those are thirds. Wow, we're already talking about fractions in kindergarten. Well, that's close. We've got both halves, but they're not quite lined up properly. Ah, there it is. We've taken the two halves and we've lined them up correctly, and we're right. Use these small triangles to make a big triangle. So it looks to me like I could make a square out of that triangle, of those triangles. That's a big triangle. That's probably the right one, but let's take a look at the others just in case. That is not a triangle. We don't know what that is yet. It's called a parallelogram, and we'll discuss it later on. And as I said, you can make a square out of those two triangles. Use these squares to make a rectangle. Well, to make a rectangle, we're either going to put them on top of each other or next to each other. Let's see. Oh, we even changed it up a little bit more. We made them diagonal just to kind of, again, let those students visualize that rotation. It's really important because later on in middle school and high school, we're going to be talking about those rotations. So by that time, students will have had 7, 8, 9 years of experience visualizing how these shapes move and how they look when you can move them around or rotate them. Okay, let's check the other one really quick. Yeah, that's clearly wrong. Use these semicircles to make a circle. Now, we've already done semicircles making a circle, but let's see how it works now. Now, in real life with real kids, I imagine that you could get yourself some. This is like, again, this is building. This is art. If you can get your student, your child, to take little pieces and fit them together, if you can get them doing basic jigsaw puzzles, that will fill this requirement perfectly. In fact, I really strongly recommend even like baby's first 4-piece jigsaw puzzle is a really good idea because that gets students in the habit of rotating and flipping and visualizing how these pieces can be moved in space. So definitely jigsaw puzzles, excellent for geometric awareness. So that's not quite right. That's definitely not right. Those two semicircles are spooning. Moving on. Use these triangles to make a square. Well, that's easy enough. Not quite. Now that's 2 squares. That's not the way it goes. Excellent. Use these squares to make a rectangle. Well, just moving them together isn't going to do it. You got to rotate them again. So we rotate them. Well, that's still not quite right. Ah, there we go. We rotate them and we put them end to end and we make a rectangle. Use these triangles to make a rectangle. I hope those of you who are artistically inclined are seeing the value of the math that we're showing here. You, artists, especially computer artists, but also artists in any medium, use small shapes, small brush strokes to build larger shapes, sometimes to build perspective and dimension and shadow. This is the beginning of that. Math and art are not different. There is math in art and there is art in math. Use these triangles to make a rectangle. I imagine we're going to put these two long sides. Later on, we'll learn that they are the hypotenuse together. That's not a rectangle, but that is. And down there is just a mess. And we are done composing shapes. Quiz 2, and then the unit test. Why are you... Stop it. I'm reloading. I seem to be having some issues. There we go. I was having some highlight issues. I don't know what was happening there. Which shape has more sides? So we're going to count the sides. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. This one has 1, 2, 3, 4. So the pentagon clearly has more sides than the rectangle. Which shape is below the green rectangle? Let's see. Looks like the red triangle to me. Use these small triangles to make a big rectangle. Now or small rectangles to make a big rectangle. There are a couple of ways I could do this. I could stack them on top of each other, or I could stack them side by side. Either one would make a larger rectangle. And I don't think we're quite ready for students to understand that a square is a type of rectangle yet. I think for now, it's okay for students to see a square and a rectangle as two totally different things. So if I was to present a square to a kindergartner and say, is this a rectangle? And they said no, I would be 100% okay with that answer because it's a square. There's plenty of time for nuance later on down the line. And it does look like that when we put them together, it does not make a square, so the point is moot anyway. Which shape is round? That would be the circle and not the pentagon. Which animal is in front of the fence? Looks like the squirrel is in front of the fence and the pig is behind the fence. And we are killing it. So now we have this unit test. In which picture is the cow beside the chick? Well, they're diagonal here, so it's definitely B. Use these semicircles to make a circle. That looks like the Google logo or a pie chart. Clearly wrong. That's not even a circle, that's a square, so C is the correct answer. Which shape has 4 sides of the same length? Well, the rectangle up there, the gray one, does have 4 sides, but they're clearly not the same length, so the red square is the correct answer. Which one is taller? The glass of milk is taller than the cookie. Use these small triangles to make a big triangle. Well, that's not a big triangle, that's a square. That's a big triangle, though. And that is, again, a parallelogram, which is not a word that kindergartners are expected to know. Which shape has no corners? Well, that clearly has several corners. That one has none. It's round. Round means no corners, sort of. Like an oval doesn't have any corners, and it's not quite round. So clearly round doesn't just mean no corners. These are the kinds of questions you should be talking about with your kids. Which shape is below the red rectangle? I see an orange. That looks like a hexagon to me. Which one is shorter? The roly-poly bug is shorter than the fox. Which one is behind the bricks? Ah, this is the elephant that is behind the bricks. And that's the unit test.